Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tzipi Oppenheimer, and I am part of our Nefesh B'Nefesh Answers Post Aliyah Advocacy Team. You can call any of those three. I'm joined tonight by two of my colleagues, Ariella, you can wave hi, and Liz.
Hi there.
Say hi, okay. We do these events, these Zoom sessions about once a month. We've been doing them now for a number of months, where we're trying to both allow for open forum questions, and actually we have quite a number of questions that were already sent to us pre this session. Okay, questions about having to do with your Aliyah. And then in each of these open forum sessions, we're also putting a spotlight on one topic. And tonight's spotlight is on rental assistance. So just to spice things up, we're going to begin first with some of the general questions that we received for about half an hour or so, we'll see. And then Ariella is going to be presenting. She has a short presentation on the rental assistance, and we'll open it up to general questions about the rental assistance or other questions you may have. So starting with general questions, you are welcome, if you know how to put it in the chat box, you're welcome to mark them in the chat box. I ask you to wait with questions having to do about rental assistance until after Ariella has presented that, okay? Because she might answer those questions, but other questions you're welcome to type in the box. We will try our absolute best to answer as many questions as possible. Right now, one of my colleagues is going to put in the chat box how you can reach us in any case by email or by phone. And I think that one of the most important messages of this evening is, besides the information we give, is that you know how to reach us, okay? Because every question is an important question. No question is a silly question. And it's really much better. And my colleague Shlomo, who just joined us from NBN, and he says it's so much better than me. And I'm not going to get it right, Shlomo, unless you want to unmute yourself and say it. We prefer.
Okay, so what I always say is I prefer you to ask a question before it becomes a problem than to call me with a problem because you didn't ask a question. So that's my spiel.
Thank you, Shlomo. So I guess I'll write that down at some point and then be able to say it in your words. But that is true. We're here to answer your questions, and we're here for as long as you need us. Meaning, and just again to introduce, in case you're not familiar, Nefesh B'Nefesh, we have a whole department, NBN Answers. What's known as the Post Aliyah department, the advocacy department. We have, I think, 8 or 9 of us right now, joined by Ariella, Liz, and Shlomo. And we have an email address, answers@nbn.org.il. We have a phone number, *3680. We answer the phone Sunday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sometimes if you call and you're waiting, it just means there's a lot of calls ahead of you, and you can hang on, or you can try calling us back in another hour or so, or send us an email and we'll get in touch with you to answer your questions. Okay. So I'm going to start with some of the questions I'm going to read. I have a sheet of paper, read some of the questions that were actually sent in ahead of time and that I think might be of help to everybody. Okay. So one of the questions that really hit a chord was, I finally was able to receive my Israeli passport, but it required 6 months. The COVID delays have created havoc with the Aliyah process. So that's not really a question, as you see. That is a statement, but it touches on a lot of things. Okay, so first of all of you have made Aliyah already. Some of you just a month, 2 months, 3 months ago, and some of you, at least one person we spoke with, 1.5 years ago, and maybe even more. There might be somebody here who made Aliyah 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And we still have frustrations, and we still have things we need to learn and we don't know about. So you can contact us then too. And even though COVID restrictions have been largely loosened for travel, especially, but also for our day-to-day life, it still is affecting some of our post-Aliyah steps. And for those of you who are not familiar, don't know, many of the government offices have a long backlog of appointments. It's really hard to get appointments for some of the offices, especially for the Misrad HaPnim. So I want to take this opportunity to give you a really important update. And if you don't know it, I'm glad you're hearing it now, and share it with your other Olim friends. If you have an Israeli passport and it's valid, Wonderful. Some of you might not have gotten your Israeli passport yet, have not yet been to the Misrad Apnim to issue it, either because you haven't been here for 3 months, which is the minimum, or 90 days, or you just haven't gotten around to it, or you've tried to make an appointment and gosh darn, there's no appointments till November, December, or not at all. There is the backlog in appointments is nationwide issue. It's not just for Olim. It's not causing problems just for Olim. It's causing problems for everyone in this in the country. And the Misrad Apnim is trying to find certain solutions. It's related to COVID because during COVID, I mean, this is what they're explaining to us. During COVID, people didn't get their passports. During COVID, people didn't go to take care of other things. Staff was cut during COVID, and they're not finding new staff. And it's also related to the 25,000, as I read on Shabbat, Olim who came from Russia and the Ukraine since the outbreak of the war. So they're doubly taxed. Really hard to find appointments. So one of the solutions is, and this is great news for Olim, if you have a valid foreign passport, you are allowed to travel in and out of Israel using your foreign passport. So if you have family members who have an Israeli passport and expired, or if you didn't yet have a chance to take out an Israeli passport, you can travel. Right now, it's good through December 31st, up until January 1st, 2023. You can travel on your valid foreign passport. So people say, well, what should I do? I mean, I'll make an appointment for November, for December, whatever, whenever you find a date to apply for that Israeli passport. But don't worry if you're traveling this summer. Absolutely, it's listed in the Misrad Apnim on the Ministry of Interior website. Everybody in the airports are supposed to know that you are allowed to enter and exit Israel using your foreign valid passport. So even though really our day-to-day life has returned to routine a lot regarding COVID, it still is impacting us in certain ways. And that is one solution that the Ministry of Interior, the Misrad Apnim, put into place. Any questions about that? In the chat box, somebody want to read if there is, or somebody from my team, I mean. Okay.
It's okay, go ahead.
Was there a question?
Just somebody is asking, Leslie is asking how to find a live Ulpan as opposed to on Zoom. We have a whole article on Hebrew, learning Hebrew and Ulpan, which includes an Ulpan database. I'll put the link here right now.
Okay, terrific.
Can I just add to that answer if you don't mind, Sippy?
Sure.
One of the things that you're going to find, one of your benefits is that you're eligible for at least one free Ulpan, and you can use that benefit within the first, I believe it's 5 to 10 years after Aliyah. For a list of which Ulpanim you may be eligible for, because it's based on your locality, you can get a list directly from your local Misrad Klita. We also have on our website an Ulpan database with a listing of Ulpanim. The reason why I would send you to Misrad Klita as the first option is that they have the most current list, and because the list changes every now and again. So the best place to get that list of Ulpanim that you might be eligible for in your locality is through the Misrad Klita.
Okay, thank you.
If you also don't mind me adding, depending on which city you live in, if you have an Olim coordinator through your municipality.
I just put that link in.
Oh, okay. Contacting the municipal advisor for Olim will give you some extra services.
So thank you, Ariella, because I was going to tap into that too. The municipality coordinator in various cities can give you a lot of information about what's happening in your specific locality. And in fact, 2 questions. It's interesting that we got 2 questions about ahead of time people who are moving this summer. One to Beit Shemesh, one to Herzliya, Lona and Jason. I'm not sure who's on right now. And a great way to get information about where you're moving to is to contact the municipality coordinator. You'll see that link there in the chat box. And I forgot to say, this is being recorded. You will receive a link to the recording. It might take a few days, and you'll receive some of these relevant links in the email as well, okay? Another thing to know is on our website, there is also a list of community contacts. I'm told it's sometimes not 100% up to date. If you run into anything on our website that's not up to date, you should let us know. Write us at answers, okay? Because we don't know unless people tell us. But I'm going to put in the chat box as well how to reach community contacts. Because if you're moving in summer's time, when many people move, it's really good to interface to crowdsource and and be in touch with people who live in your community. Which leads me to a shout out to our Nefesh B'Nefesh website. I'm assuming that everybody who planned their Aliyah looked at a lot of information on the website. Please note there's still a lot of information, a lot relevant to you today post Aliyah. For the Pazes who told us that they're waiting B'Sha'a Tova for their birth, just as an example, there's a lot of information of what to do after you give birth as well, before registering your baby, taking out a birth certificate, information about prenatal and postnatal care. So a shout out to our website, which is still a relevant website, in my opinion, even or both post Aliyah. Another question that was sent to us ahead of time was, can I get assistance finding a job? Ariella, can you put in the job board? So yes, we have a MBN job board, which lists jobs throughout the country. And we have lots of information on our site about different jobs in that different professions in Israel. And we have an employment department, employment@mbn.org.il. They provide information about licensing. They provide resources where you can look for jobs. We're not headhunters in that we don't match up one-to-one usually, although the job board does act as a headhunter in that it is listing certain jobs, and hopefully that would be a help to you. So if you haven't yet taken advantage of that, let us know. Last month's open forum had a spotlight on pivoting your career. If somebody's interested in that, it was a great session. Send us a quick email to answers@NBN, and we can send you the link to that session as well. Liz or Ariella, are there other questions in the chat that we might want to touch on? Or I'll go to some more questions that were asked.
I'm sorry. There is one question from Nicole about after getting a discount in Arnona, which other assistance may I get? I heard people receiving some amount by month to help with the rent. That's what this whole webinar is going to be about tonight. That is the rental assistance, which starts in your 8th month following Aliyah, and Ariella will be giving a presentation shortly about that. And on the top of the chat, I posted the link to our article about that as well, in case you want to refer back to it.
Thank you. So yeah, and if you weren't here at the very beginning, you didn't hear, we're going to answer some of these general questions and then get onto specifically the rental assistance. I am putting right now in the chat box as I am talking, because there was I need people to please mute yourselves if possible. Yeah. I just put into, I need people to mute yourselves, please. Okay. We got a number of questions ahead of time about benefits. And again, we have 2 really important lists on our website, and I put the links in. One is just a list, is a listing of the Aliyah benefits, and one is a timeline. So it's the same benefits, just, when does it expire? One of the questions is, I've been here, where is it? I've been here for 1.5 years. How do I know what else I have coming to me, so to speak? So really do your, you can do your homework and look and see what benefits, what rights and benefits does NOLA get, what's left is per the timeline. Somebody asked specifically about purchasing a home. There is a mortgage benefit for Olim. And I say, if you're at the point where you're talking about purchasing a home, that's amazing. That's a great next, like a real milestone in an OLEZ, and I think in an OLEZ journey in Israel. There is a mortgage benefit specifically for Olim, but I would tell you that there's also a very good mortgage benefit for what they call in Hebrew mechusarei diur, which doesn't mean homeless. It means somebody who doesn't own a previous home in Israel or hasn't owned in the past 10 years. That goes not just to Olim, that goes to everybody. And sometimes that benefit is even better than the Olim benefit. If you're at the point where you're purchasing your own home, we have a whole YouTube library of pre-recorded webinars, including about mortgages, purchasing a home. It's a project. And sometimes we suggest, There's what we call a mortgage consultant, which is it's not quite the same as mortgage broker, but help you navigate the whole system, which is different in Israel than in the States. We have information on our website, but that's a whole process in and of itself. But that's one of the benefits you might still have available. If you've been here for a year and a half, you still have customs benefits through the end of your third year here, and so on. Okay, I see, I'm going to read this question because I see it was just to me, but it's really relevant to everybody. Okay, somebody who has not yet been able to make contact with, this is to David, okay, but it's not just to you. So if any of you who are relatively new Olim, who haven't yet been able to make contact with Misrad HaKlita, and I actually, you typed this in even before this evening, you've been here a month, 2 months, 2 weeks even, 1 week even, please contact us. We have tips on how to get an appointment at Misrad HaKlita. And you used all our tips and you still haven't been able to, please don't be shy. You've called us numerous times, tried to reach us. I'm not sure, David, I'm going to mark down that somebody will get back to you tomorrow. I don't know what, we're not going to go into a specific instance. We do not have a repository of appointments in each office. It doesn't work that way. We don't have access to the various offices, which includes Misrad HaKlita, Misrad HaPnim, to their appointment system. The only thing we can do is when we see that there is something really out of the ordinary, I mean, besides giving tips on how to find appointments, if there's something really out of the ordinary or something very urgent, we try and speak with whoever we know and see how quickly we can get an appointment. So if you feel, if you've been here and still are not been here, somebody wrote me that they've been here for 2 months and they still don't have a Misrad HaKlita appointment, well, please, please, please call us. Please, please send us another email, and we will try and assist you. Okay. Thank you, David. I see your message. Okay. Shlomo still on? I don't see. Okay.
I am indeed. Go
oh,
ahead.
yeah. Okay. This is the question for you. We heard that mortgages are not available for seniors 80 or over. Is that true? Can you just talk about?
I did just answer Emmanuel privately, but just in case anyone else wants to know, it's not necessarily true that there is a cutoff age for mortgages, but it can be more difficult to get a mortgage the older you are. The reason is that however long the mortgage is, you're going to have to get insurance to cover paying off the mortgage for the whole duration of the mortgage. So the older you are, the more of a risk you are to the bank of, there's no way to put this tactfully, but not being around at the end of the mortgage, which is why it can be more difficult to get a mortgage the older you are. Obviously, then short-term mortgages may be an option, higher collateral mortgages may be an option, but this is something you should definitely speak to a mortgage broker about. So the short answer is not necessarily, the longer answer is not necessarily, but it may come with more difficulties and conditions.
Thank you so much, Shlomo. Okay. I see Oren's question, and I want to read it and answer for everybody. The municipality in Tel Aviv is asking for proof that I did not pay Arnona in the past in order to honor my discount. I'm not sure exactly what they need, and are they not able to see this in their system? I have never paid Arnona before. Okay. Arnona discount. Let me just, it's a discount that you can take advantage of it anytime in the first 24 months. It is a discount for, it's a 12-month discount. So for those of you on the screen who haven't yet taken advantage of the mortgage discount, of the Arnona discount, excuse me, you have up until the end of your second year, okay? But you want to start it by the 13th month, otherwise you won't get the full 12 months. You can't start in the 20th month and then continue for 12 months. It will only go through the 24th month. Now, what happens is, usually, Oren, and if this is not the case, call us tomorrow specifically. If you've lived in the same location, Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or Haifa or Carmiel, I'm from the north. If you lived in the same city since the beginning, that's the only address in your Teudat Zehut in the system, then they can, the municipality will be able to see you never took advantage of that benefit. But the benefit is definitely linked. It's only per it's in each municipality's system. It's not nationwide. You pay Arnona, which is a local municipality property tax, for lack of a better way to say it, and only that municipality sees it. So if I live in a small place in the Lower Galilee, for example, and I didn't use my my Arnona discount because I lived with my aunt, and then I moved to Tel Aviv, I must bring a letter from the reshut, from the local government, if it's the municipality, if it's a regional council, saying Tzipi Oppenheimer, Zoot number so-and-so, never used a more Arnona discount. I keep on saying it, an Arnona discount while she was living in the municipality, and they will be able to give that letter. Okay, it's much easier, quite obviously, if you move from Eilat to Tel Aviv. It's obviously easier to get that letter before you leave Eilat, but you should be able to get that. So, Oren, I'm not sure where you lived before. If you moved from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, you need to ask for that letter from the Jerusalem Arnona department. Every reshut, every municipality / regional council or local council has an Arnona department, and they should issue that letter. If that's still not clear, contact us and we'll give you more details. But again, please, everybody, remember it's a 70 to 90% discount on the first 100 square meters maximum of your Arnona bill. It's for 12-month discount. It can be used anytime in the first 24 months. Are there any other questions that I didn't see? I have listed from previous some more. Oh, I saw there was something about loan soldier. Right?
Sippy, someone asked if you could write down the other mortgage benefit that you mentioned.
So I actually
if you could just write down in the spelling.
I did. I sent it not by accident. I sent it. Okay. Hold on.
What are you looking for? The purchase tax benefit?
No. The mechusarei diur. Hold on. The truth is this: that the first thing you need to do when you're getting a mortgage, it's changed a little bit, is to get, it's not catching it for some reason. Hold on. Home is to get, whoa. Okay, I'll write it down again when I'm not speaking. Okay, I will. Information the same for recently released soldiers. I actually got a question ahead of time about for recently released soldiers as well. Just so you should know, anybody here who's a recently released soldier, first of all, amazing. Thank you for serving. Our LSP department, our Loan Soldiers Department, provides help and guidance on how to access benefits as a recently released soldier. I'm not sure what, Chasia, what your question specifically was referring to. Is all the information the same? So no, recently released soldiers, some of your benefits freeze. Just anybody who's here on the screen. Some benefits freeze while you're in the Army. Timeline freezes. Some benefits freeze if you're a university student, some benefits, and some benefits freeze if you're out of the country for 6 months or more. We have an article about extension of benefits, so that if a certain benefit is you have to take advantage of in the first 3 years, customs benefit, for example, freezes if you're a student or if you're in the Army. The Arnona benefit does not freeze, so you have the first 2 years of your Aliyah also as a soldier or as a university student to take advantage of that benefit. If you have specific questions, contact our LSP department, lsp@mbn.org.il. I forget the phone number by heart. Somebody might know it.
I'm writing it in the chat and the email
wonderful.
as well, because the email is a little bit different.
Okay. And if somebody wants to put in the chat the extension of benefits, that's also maybe helpful.
There's also an article called Life After Army, which has a lot of this information, plus a couple of other things as well. So that is also on our website. Thank you. And there's an article, Life After Sherut Leumi. I would be remiss not to mention that one. It's also if somebody here did Sherut Leumi, because there are some differences. Somebody's asking to discuss the housing lotteries. That is a topic in and of itself, and it's important to know about. And I would suggest sending us an email, and we can send you can send it directly to me. I'm going to type my email address because I've answered that question before, and I'm happy to send that information, and maybe a future post Aliyah session we can have specifically about the housing lotteries. Okay. It is 7:26. We can take one more question, then we're going to move to the rental assistance. Does somebody have a question that we're seeing here? I applied 2-3 months ago, starting my 8th month since making, I'm assuming that's rental assistance. And we're going to hold off on the rental assistance questions. I'm going to, one more question, okay? Somebody's asking about resources to learn Hebrew.
In addition to Ulpan, which we talked about, you should all get to know our events calendar. Nefesh B'Nefesh does have an Israel calendar, which hosts events that are both Nefesh B'Nefesh sponsored and non-Nefesh B'Nefesh sponsored, but are for English speakers. If you're not receiving emails about that, you should send us an email and we'll give you the link. Or if somebody wants to put in the chat box how to register for that calendar, there is something called Cafe Oleh, which is just one way of learning Hebrew, an additional way that's also done by Zoom and also done in person. A really nice once a week hour fun Ulpan. We have a whole article about other free ways to learn Hebrew in addition to Ulpan. But I would urge you all to look at our calendar and see what's happening, and hopefully we're going to be able to go to more and more in-person events. It's, you know, always iffy what we're doing in person and what we aren't doing in person. I think we are going to go right now. I'm going to pass the microphone over to my colleague Ariella, excuse me, and she's going to give us a short presentation about the rental assistance, which a lot of you joined for that. And we'll open it up. I would suggest waiting to type in questions about the rental assistance. If you have a question, write it down on a piece of paper or in your mind. Wait till she finishes presenting. And then if there's a question that wasn't answered or needs further clarification, you're welcome to type it in and we'll get to those questions too. Thanks, Ariella.
Hi, thank you, Tzipi. Okay, so just one moment, I'm going to share my screen.
We see it.
Yes, how do you go into, I figured out just a second ago how to get into the presentation mode.
It's usually, there's like, it looks like a little goblet.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to discuss the rental subsidy called the Siyua B'Schar Dira in Hebrew. This is a benefit that you begin receiving during your 8th month of Aliyah. The people that are eligible for this benefit is anyone who has received a Tudat Oleh or Tudat Zakaut. The benefit is going to begin during your 8th month Aliyah and run through to the end of your 5th year. So it's quite a bit of money over time. And there are some exceptions as to people who may receive it for a longer period of time. And this will apply to lone soldiers, lone benot shirut, single parents, and people who participated in Na'aleh before making Aliyah.
Ariella, just before you continue, I just want to be clear because a lot of people get confused about this. This is only available for people who are renting. If you currently own a property or have done so in the last 10 years, whether or not you're living in it, it renders a person ineligible.
Thank you, Liz. So the funny thing about this benefit is there's also scenarios where someone might not be renting and they will be receiving this benefit, like someone who maybe made Aliyah over the age of 21 and happens to have parents in Israel and is living with their parents. They may not be paying rent. You may not even have to be paying rent in order to receive this benefit. The benefit is it's a flat rate, so it's not something based on how much you're paying, and it goes directly into your bank account. So it's not something I've had people say, well, how do they know I'm using it towards my rent? It's money that goes directly to your bank account and can be used for anything. So you'll see here on the chart on the screen how much you receive per month for a family and a single parent. Someone who is a lone soldier or a lone bachirut, during their service, they would be receiving 402 shekels per month. Essentially, the benefit for the Aliyah benefit freezes. And then after a lone bachirut or soldier finishes their service, they are then required to ask for an extension, essentially. And then they begin to start receiving the rental subsidy will pick up from whatever month of their Aliyah. Let's say someone did 3 full years of service, and then they started, they got released from their 37th month of Aliyah, they would start receiving the rental subsidy as an Ole who would be 37 months from their date of Aliyah. Then after they finish the complete 5-year timeline, they will begin to receive the amount of money per month that they missed out on as an Ole. Okay, so that might be a little bit more complicated what I just explained. If someone here is a former lone bachirut or lone soldier, and that does not seem clear, you're also welcome to contact us individually. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. There are certain reasons you may be wondering why your rental subsidy may have not started, or if you're past your 8th month of Aliyah, or why it suddenly stopped. So this could happen for several reasons. One of this is...
Oh, good.
Sorry, if I just can ask you to mute yourself. Okay, one of this could be the changes in bank details. Essentially, when you make Aliyah and you give your bank details to the Misrad HaKlita, this information is then passed on to the Misrad HaShikun, the Ministry of Housing, and that is where they begin to deposit the payments. So if you do not update the Ministry of Housing of your bank details, then that is one of the reasons it may stop. Some people may just will stay with the same bank. They may stay with Bank Leumi or Bank Hapoalim, but that the second they move their branch, that is considered a change of banks, change of bank details, and even that needs to be updated. Another reason, very common reason why I may stop, is if someone is traveling abroad for 2 months consecutively. If they had started off their Aliyah living in subsidized housing, such as a kibbutz ulpan or a merkaz klita, if you then buy property, first of all, if you already own property or have owned in the past 10 years, as Liz mentioned, then you will not be receiving this benefit. But if you do purchase property, the payments will stop, and I will get into the specifics of that in a moment. Another reason it may stop is if your marital status changes. So if you made Aliyah, let's say as a single, and marry a Israeli or someone who is a more veteran Ole, the second you go to the Misrad Panim, the Ministry of Interior, to update your marital status, the payments will stop. In order to reinstate the payments, if this is applicable to someone, I'm not going to go into the whole process unless someone states that it's applicable to them, and then I'm happy to go through it. There's a Tudat Zakaut expiration. That's not something that I'm gonna go into now, unless there's someone who is a lone soldier or lone bachirut, in which this would be applicable to. If for some reason you are missing payments, the maximum amount of payments that you will receive retroactively is up to 3 months. If for some reason you would like to appeal and receive more than 3 months retroactively, you would have to go to one of your local rental subsidy locations and request it. So that's what I'm going to get to in another couple slides. I had mentioned before, if you own property, the payments will stop. Sometimes people buy on paper, or they are going to be doing a major renovation after they've purchased the property and will not be able to move in yet. In a contract, you will find, in a case like this, you may find that it will say when the period of building will be finished and the entry date. Now, even though you've already purchased property, because you were still in a situation where you need to continue to rent, as long as you have this contract that states when the day of building will be over and you're able to enter your property, you can bring this contract to a rental assistance company and they will reinstate the payments until this date. So that's very important if you have purchased property on paper. I just mentioned a moment ago a rental assistance company. So the overall government branch that oversees this benefit is the Misrad HaShikun V'Binui, the Ministry of Housing. There are 4 different companies. Only 3 of them are listed on the My Visit website, so that's why there's only a picture of 3, but there are 4 different rental assistance companies throughout the country. You can go to any of them, but once you open a file with one of these companies, then your file belongs with them. You would open a file with them in several situations in order to continue to receive payments, such as if you had changed your marital status, if you are a released loan soldier or loan bachirut, if you, let's say, as I had mentioned in the previous situation, if you had purchased property on paper. Another important thing to note is someone had asked about the housing lottery. I recently applied myself. I am past the 5 years since making Aliyah. However, because I already had a file open and I received this benefit, the rental subsidy from the Ministry of Housing, it wouldn't let me open or make a request for a Tudat Zakaut online. You have to request a Tudat Zakaut in order to then enter the housing lottery. So if you find that you're applying for Tudat Zakaut online and it's not letting you, it's most likely because you are an Ole Chadash. And in that case, you will need to turn to one of the rental companies and apply with a form in order to get a Tudat Zakaut. So it's a little bit of a longer process, but it's something that you're absolutely eligible for.
Just Ariella, just to say, Tudat Zakaut is like an eligibility certificate, and that's the very first step that someone needs to do, both in applying for a mortgage or applying for that housing lottery or one of those programs.
Right, and not to be confused with a green booklet that someone who is an Isra Chole or Katin Choser receives from the Misrad HaKlita. They're both called Tudat Zakaut, but have different uses. And that finishes our presentation, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay, and now would be the time to type in specific questions about the rental assistance. There's some other questions, general questions we didn't get to, and we'll try and get back to some of them when we finish questions about the rental assistance. There is one question that was asked. What if one spouse is an Ole and the other spouse is a Toshav Choser? What column is this family in for rental subsidy? Do we know the answer to that?
So depending on how long before that the spouse had made Aliyah. Okay, so there's 2 different things. If the Toshav Choser had never made Aliyah, then the person who is the Ole in the Mishpachat Olim will be receiving the benefit as a single and not as a family, because only in that case the one spouse is the Ole. If an Ole marries a more veteran Ole that is made Aliyah obviously longer, but is still within the 5 years from their Aliyah, then the less veteran Ole will join the timeline of the more veteran Ole, and that is how much they will be receiving per month. Obviously, if you're going from a single to a family, you will be receiving the amount that a family receives per month. Also, if you marry a more veteran Ole who's past the 5-year timeline, then you will no longer be receiving the rental subsidy. You will not be eligible anymore.
Thank you, Ariella. I want to say something, okay? It's answering some questions, but also a general comment. Somebody said, first of all, it's an automatic benefit, meaning Ariel already mentioned the reasons why you might not see it in your account. And the default is everybody from the 8th month as an Ole will see it in the same bank account that they gave to the Misrad HaKlita for their Sal Klita. The reasons you might not see it, Ariella mentioned, And if you're not seeing it in your account, please contact us. We can help find out. We'll troubleshoot with you what is the reason you might not be seeing it, and we'll help you reinstate it if you are indeed eligible. So a specific question about, I lived in the Merkaz Klita for 5 months, am I eligible? Yes, you are. If you'd lived in the Merkaz Klita for 12 months, you wouldn't have received it month 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because when you're in the Merkaz Klita, you're not eligible. But you left after 5 months, and you are now, and you only begin receiving in the 8th month. So yes, you should be getting the full benefit.
Actually, Tzipi, let me add something, because that's not 100%. If you
Okay.
were in Klita housing, which includes a Merkaz Klita or a live-in Ulpan, like an Ulpan Etzion, it will not be automatic.
That's
You
what I
will
was going to
need-
say. Okay.
Sorry. Okay. I apologize. You will need to get a letter from the Klita housing, and you will need to apply for it through one of the rental assistance companies. It will not be automatic.
We can help you. We can help. I have helped people who lived in Merkaz Klita get that instated. Okay. So thank you, Shlomo. The general comment is, this is now a general comment in all. Olim, making Aliyah is wonderful, and immigrating to a new country is hard. I never heard me say that before. We haven't talked a long time. Immigrating is really hard. You become, kindergarten students in many ways. And lots of times people tend to ignore their bank account and see what is being deposited and what is not, because it's in Hebrew. Do not ignore your bank account. Check 8th month, 9th month. Are you receiving that money from the rental assistance? You check what is being deposited. I don't think you have that many different monies being deposited, and you should see either 402 shekel or 800 shekel, depending, or 200 shekel or 402 shekel. Excuse me. If you're a single, 200. If you're a family, 402. See if it's being deposited. If it's not, contact us. If you lived in Merkaz Klita, for example, I want to say, my esteemed colleague Shlomo, I have seen it become automatic, but probably most of the time not. And you need to let them know. You could do it yourself by contacting the rental assistance company. If you feel that's a task that is really hard for you, contact us and we'll help you. You need to let them know that you're no longer living there with a letter from the Merkaz Klita, okay? So don't ignore your bank account. Look at it, see what's being deposited, what's being taken out. They'll only, if it's something that you are negligent about, meaning I've been in Israel for 2 years, I left for 3 months in the 14th month, I came back in the 17th month, and just now in the 24th month, I realized I didn't get it. They'll pay it retroactive only 2 months. They don't pay retroactive forever. So you are responsible, as another colleague of mine says,
For
if you
3 months. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Liz. If you snooze, you lose, okay? So don't snooze when it comes to money things, because it's important. Keep your eye on your account.
I wanted to, sorry.
I was just going to say that even if you notice a payment hasn't, once you're getting it, if a payment hasn't come in throughout the month, it's good to check in with us. I just had somebody do that. And we used our contacts just to check in, and they had some inaccurate information that suddenly this couple had become homeowners. And had they not followed up on it, the payments would have discontinued, month after month, and it would have become more problematic. Because we caught it right then, we were able to send the rental contract as proof, and just nip it in the bud like that. So just, I know there's a lot of detail in life, especially getting acclimated, but it is good to pay attention to the ongoing payments.
I wanted to specify, which I didn't do in the presentations. First of all, you should always reach out to us if you have any questions. But the scenarios in which we can easily help reinstate the payments is if the bank details have changed, if you were living in a Merkaz Klita. Those are the 2 scenarios in which we can easily help, and also if you were abroad for more than 2 months. And just going off of what Tzipi said, I am an example of someone who left for more than 2 months, did not pay attention to my payments, and I lost out on 2 years of payments. So that's 400 shekels per month over 24 months, and that's not a little bit of money. So I always tell people it might be a smallish amount of money, but over 5 years, that amount adds up, and you really should stay on top of those payments.
No, since that time that I spoke to you, it went back on. I know, but I've been sitting here trying to absorb what they're telling me.
Gloria,
on
can you
this,
please mute yourself?
website about for all.
I didn't know if there was a comment to us. Thank you, Ariella. In general, by the way, not just to keep track of what you're supposed to be receiving and you don't, but also bills that you're supposed to be paying. Don't ignore bills either, because you might have late fees and stuff. We're here to help you. Call us and answer it. Star 3680. Write us and answers. We have Ariella. One of her amazing hats that she wears is she helps pairs up people with volunteers if they need help with certain bills or other things. So contact us. We really want to help you, but we can't help if we don't know what you need help with. Okay. Do you have to contact anyone if you leave the country? No, you do not. If you leave the country for less than 2 months, as far as the rental assistance, no problem. If you leave the country for a long vacation, you only let them know, or let us know. We'll let them know if you've been away for more than 2 months. If you're still in getting the sal klita, which is the first payments in the first 6 months, and you're out of the country for more than 2 weeks, just as an FYI, that will be put on hold. It will automatically start up again if you've been once you're back in Israel for 2 weeks. Okay, so again, keep your eye on it. Somebody asked, I'm trying to remember what the exact question was, how to make an appointment in Misrad HaKlita, but this ties in. You should open a GovIL account. If you don't know how to do it, maybe we'll put a link in about, we have a tutorial. A GovIL account lets you get all sorts of information from government offices. You go in the GovIL account, you can log into the Misrad. It's a personal login account for everybody. You can log into your Misrad HaKlita information and see what payments were made to me, what payments were not yet made to me. Did I miss a payment? You can ask a question, by the way, directly of your Misrad HaKlita rep, who is supposed to answer you that way. And if you've already been once to Misrad HaKlita, the first appointment, going back to a general question, to Misrad HaKlita needs to be made by email or by phone. But after that, you can make an appointment through gov.il, through My Visit, or again, through an email, whichever one you get an answer to quickest, okay? Did we have more rental assistance questions? Somebody Martin wrote that I received rental payment before my 8th month. It was terminated. I learned this by finding their letter online. Who do I contact to find out and how? You responded? Oh,
yes, I responded.
Okay, thank you. I'm assuming that meant you found online gov.il. I don't know where they sent you an email, but that's a type of question, thank you, that you should contact us. Okay. Are there more rental assistance questions? And thank you so much, Ariella, for the presentation. Okay. There is a general topic that I forgot to touch on, and there were questions about it, and I want to touch on it. I will read a question that was asked when Ariella was talking and ran all through it. I want to know, if one is out of the country, how long do you need to be out of the country for your health insurance to lapse? Or another version of that question was, how do I continue health insurance after the first 6 months? If I go away, how long is it valid if I come back? Okay. So does somebody else want to answer that from my team, or?
I'll answer this question. This is one of those things where there's a lot of uncertainty about this. If you went on the Bituach Leumi website and you tried to find out, well, let me take a step back. In order to maintain your health insurance, you have to be considered a resident of the state of Israel. Now, if you go on the Bituach Leumi website and you look up the instructions on what constitutes maintaining your residency in the state of Israel, it says there are objective tests and there are subjective tests. And then it doesn't really tell you what the objective or subjective tests are. There is something about being in the country for 183 days out of a year. Then you start getting to a question, is it from your date of Aliyah? Is it calendar year, January to December? I wish I could give you a definitive answer. What I can tell you is this: if you think, or if you know that out of any 12-month period, you are not going to be in Israel for 183 days, then it's worthwhile having a conversation with us. Now, we may not be able to do anything about this because the minute we ask Bituach Leumi, they'll probably revoke your residency. So you don't want us to open a can of worms by asking Bituach Leumi, but we can talk about some of the things that you can do in order to be a little more careful. In general, if your center of life is Israel, that means even if you're traveling for work, but you have family, your family is staying here. Or if you only own property and are paying rent in Israel and not anywhere else in the world, in all likelihood, even if they cancel your residency, there'll be a way to talk to them about it. But as far as hard and fast rules, unfortunately, that's one of those things where there is too much uncertainty to really give hard and fast rules about it. Sorry about the unsatisfying answer.
Okay, thank you. I am going to answer what do I do after 6 months and you're living here, okay? All of you receive free health insurance for 6 months. There are some conditions that somebody will receive it for another 6 months. That is if you are receiving what's called Dmei Kiyum, which is like unemployment for Olim. Just as an FYI, those of you who are within your first year of Aliyah, you should be receiving emails at regular intervals, not every month. I think over the first 12 months, you received 7 emails that touch upon different milestones and remind you of different things, including this about Bituach Leumi, about Dmei Kiyum, and so on. If you're in your first 12 months of Aliyah and you are not receiving those emails, they come from answers@nbn.org.il. Check your spam filter. Add that email address, always a good idea, to your address book, because anything we send from there, you'll then receive, won't go in spam if it's in your address book. But if you're not receiving it, send us an email and say, hey, I'm not receiving it. We'll look into it. Which email are we sending it to? Is there a problem with the email address we have? I don't know what else. Okay, check please your spam to see. Maybe it got stuck there and you didn't realize it. And just FYI, if you change contact information, phone number, send us an email. Send us an email so we can update the contact information. So you will get a reminder if you're here and you're not yet here 6 months. You will get a reminder after 6 months if you are eligible to perhaps apply for Dmei Kiyum because you're still under retirement age and you're not working yet, and there's a way to apply for it. But presumably after 6 months, you need to pay the basic health insurance. You need to set up a Bituach Leumi payment plan. You can do it either through your credit card or through your bank account. You set up the easiest way to do it is to set up a Bituach Leumi personal login account and send your payment method that way and see all the information that you want to see about Bituach Leumi through that account. We have a tutorial that explains it. We have 2, not 1, but 2 open forums that spoke about Bituach Leumi. We can send you the link to that if you're interested in more. But you should be getting an email if you're not yet at that point, prompting you to do these things. If you have been in Israel more than 6 months and you did not set yet up a direct payment for Bituach Leumi, please contact us by email and we'll direct you what to do because you need to do that. Okay. Oh, by the way, excuse me. All of that is not true if you're working. If you're working and getting a salary, then your Bituach Leumi, which includes your health payment and your Bituach Leumi payments, is taken directly from your salary slip. Okay. That your employer is the one who, whoever prepares the salary, takes it out of your salary. You'll see it on the salary slip, sends it to Bituach Leumi. Your employer pays a portion, you pay a portion. Okay. Do we have more questions? Things that we didn't answer? Can we talk about the mortgage assistance? Nicole asks. So again, the Olim benefit as a mortgage assistance, it gives you a certain lower rate, mortgage rate, okay? That exists as an OLA. I don't remember it by heart, okay? That being said, again, if you do not yet own anything in Israel, the government incentivizes or gives a good mortgage rate for anyone who doesn't yet own something in Israel, any Israeli, which you are also an Israeli. And that benefit in many cases that mortgage rate in many cases is a better mortgage rate. I suggest anybody who this is relevant just to take a little bit of time, go on our website or Google mortgage Nefesh B'Nefesh, or go on our website in the Nefesh website and type in the search box mortgage, read what information we have about it, and then contact us with specific questions and we'll be happy to assist you. Hi, Liz, Ariella, Shlomo, did you guys see any other questions or anybody else want to ask any more questions? You're welcome.
We've answered everything in the written chat, but if anybody has any, somebody did ask in terms of being a single, whether, or a retired Ole who never worked here, whether they need to pay for Bituach Leumi. I'm not sure if you mentioned that. Forgive me if I missed it, but did you say it already?
Not fully. Do you want to
No.
answer? You want me to answer?
Just that everyone is required to pay Bituach Leumi, whether or not they're working. There are certain situations, for example, a woman who is not working, but her husband is, before retiree age is considered a quote unquote housewife, and therefore as long as her husband is paying, she does not have to. But the answer for retirees is yes, that they're required to pay. The general monthly amount is 106 shekel. It usually goes up just a few shekel per month. We'd be happy to help you set up automated payments. It's a very simple form, so that you don't have to remember each month to pay it. It can be debited from your credit card, not a debit card, from your credit card or your bank account every month. So that's especially convenient when you're traveling and you just want your bills to automatically be paid while you're gone.
Thank you. I want to qualify your answer just a teeny bit, okay? The payments that one makes to Bituach Leumi, you make one payment quarterly, okay, one amount quarterly. But that payment is actually divided into two things. You don't see it, but it is, okay? 106 shekel per month, but you pay quarterly, is your healthcare part of it, okay? Bituach Leumi for years now is the facilitator of the healthcare tax, if we want to call it that way. They collect it from the whole Israel people, every Israeli who pays it, everybody does. And they divide it up to whichever kupa you're a member of proportionally, okay? So if 60% of Israel is a member of Klalit, it'll go to Klalit, and so on and so on. Not to be confused with the supplemental healthcare that you pay directly to the Kupat Cholim. That healthcare everybody pays, including retirees. Retirees do not pay, okay? Anybody retiree age right now, women it's 62 plus 4 months, it's going up to be 65. And men it's 67, okay? Anybody who is past retiree age when they made Aliyah does not pay the second part of it, which is your Bituach Leumi insurance payments, which go to things like senior pension or maternity payment, or disability, God forbid, or free burial. Olim somebody said to me, senior Olim, say, well, why am I paying this? First of all, you're not, but second of all, you are taking advantage. I mean, you're obviously, if you're a senior, you're not getting the maternity benefit and not the senior pension benefit because you didn't work here, but you are getting things, and God forbid you need a disability or chok siyud, which is for seniors, or when at age 120, when you're buried, you get free burial. So you are getting some of these benefits, but that is what seniors need to pay, is the health part. Important question here, is there a senior discount for Arnona after 12-month benefit expires? The answer is maybe. There is no automatic senior discount for Arnona. Some municipality, you can apply for it. It's means tested. For some municipalities, it's just for those seniors who are already receiving other social welfare benefits from Bituach Leumi because of low income. Most Olim who are seniors and came from North America top out of any of that because of Social Security. The ceiling is very low to top out, okay? So I hope that most of our seniors are not eligible for the senior discount because you have to have very, very low monthly income to be eligible for that. Once in a while, I've heard of people who never worked their whole life, whatever, and are getting a small amount. If you're not sure, contact us directly and we can help you. Any more questions?
Tippy, do you mind if I bring up foreign passports real quick?
Certainly.
Okay, I just want to save some potential anxiety. I would say this is probably the most popular inquiry we're getting right now. Mishrad Apnim, which is the Ministry of Interior, has a significant shortage of appointments right now. And fortunately, they are aware of that. And as a result, they have created an exceptional rule. That exceptional rule allows people, Israeli citizens who hold valid foreign passports, to travel through the end of 2022, that's through December 31st, using just their valid foreign passports. Okay, we always recommend bringing your Teudat Zahut with you as Israeli ID, and if you have an expired Israeli passport, to bring that along as well in case you're asked for it. But this removes a barrier for people traveling for all sorts of reasons. So if you find that your Israeli passport, if you have not yet received one, because you haven't been here at least 3 months yet, or your passport is expired or due to expire, we recommend you schedule an appointment on My Visit using the icon for Population and Immigration Authority, that is Mishrad Apnim, and schedule an appointment for any time you can obtain one, even if it's a few months down the line. Keeping in mind that you can schedule at virtually any branch in the country. So the more flexible you are, the sooner you're likely to find an appointment. But just know that if you travel for work or family occasions or for whatever other purposes, that you are not stuck in the interim. So that's good news.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz. I see a question. If you miss payments for Bituach Leumi, is there interest? Yes, there's late fees and there's interest. And there's interest. That being said, usually, I think if you're remiss for years, they might not forgive you on that. But if you're remiss for a few months because you're an Ola and you didn't understand, I think if you speak to them, they would at least partially forgive those late fees or that penalty. Okay. I have to say, does anybody here, I'm sure some people have a car, right? Anybody here have a car? If you drive and you drive on Route 6, which is the Trans-Israel Highway, do not ignore those bills. They do not. They accrue incredible interest and late fees, and they will never forgive that to an Ola. They don't care what the reason was that you didn't pay, and you can have a bill that's 62 shekel, and it will balloon to 500 shekel and then to 1,000 shekel, like so quick, you don't know. So if I said before, don't ignore your bills, that's the bill that you should never, ever ignore. Often government offices, if you've missed payments, electricity bill, for example, I know for sure if you missed payments, don't miss payments. But if you did, go to the electricity office and you'll set up a payment plan, and they'll usually, if you're an Oleh Hadash, be so happy to get your payment plan, and then hopefully you'll give a good case and they won't charge you the interest or the penalty. And that's true of a lot of government offices, not all of them, and don't count on it, but you can always ask. Do we have more questions? You know what, Liz, that's such an important question. Let's just say, let me just read one thing. I want to make sure everybody sees it, okay? My Israeli passport is only valid for 1 year. Can I apply for renewal now as to avoid problems in the future? You cannot renew it if it's not, it has to be at least 6 months prior. Liz answered it. I just want it has to be at least 6 months prior to expiration date. And the truth is, as a new Oleh, your first passport was only good for 1 year. If you want to get a 5-year or a 10-year passport, you need to have been in Israel 75% of the first year. So if you will be in Israel 75% of the first year, you really should wait to be able to prove that, so that you'll get another passport. You'll get second passport for 5 years and not again a 1-year passport.
Sippy, a slight
Yes.
not correction, but expansion on that. Your first one is only good for 1 year. Your first passport, if you make Aliyah, is only good for 1 year. In order to get the 5 or 10 year passport after that, you can only do that after if it's more than a year since your Aliyah. You have to wait at least 1 year from your Aliyah anniversary, not necessarily a year from when you got the passport, but you can only get the extended passport if it's at least 1 year since you made Aliyah, so they can see how much of that year you've been in Israel and what that is. I also want to address Leslie for a minute. I don't think we're going to talk more about the housing lottery tonight, but if you want to know more about it, call us and we'll be happy to have a one-on-one conversation about it to discuss that a little more, okay?
Ask for Shlomo.
Yeah, I have a question. I just need you to repeat what you said about the payment of 106 shekels to Bituach Leumi as it applies to retirees. You said that there's some kind of a discount on that for retirees. I didn't catch it.
Sure, Ruth. So the answer was the 106 shekel is what you need to pay as a retiree. You pay it quarterly, so 106 times 3 per person, okay? What you're not paying is the additional, and I forget exactly how much it is, 82 perhaps?
It's about 75 shekel additional for the pension.
For the pension and other Bituach Leumi benefits or social benefits, okay? That's what you're not paying, okay?
That would be in addition to the 106.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So if Jane, or not Jane, if Shira Cohen, who is 30 and made Aliyah and is unemployed, she'll pay 106 plus 75. It is something like that. I think it's 182 altogether. Per month, she'll pay it quarterly, and you who are over retirement age will only pay that 106. Again, when you get a bill, it doesn't divide it up. You don't see it as two separate things. You'll see just one amount, but that's how they divide those amounts up.
Thank you.
We are really reaching our time limit. I think we have time for one more question if there is. And again, I can't say it enough times. Contact us at *36880. Call us Sunday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I have to tell you, and apologetically or whatever, the system we currently use does not allow us to customize the message that you receive. Once in a while, our team is all on a meeting or in service or whatever. If you're calling and nobody answers, it says leave your name or leave a message or we'll call you back. Do so, and please, we apologize if you get frustrated or if we're all on the phone with somebody. It's very busy season. You can always send us an email and say, I'd like somebody to call me back about such and such a topic, okay? But you're always welcome to be in touch, okay? A way to be contacted from the US. Yes, Liz put it in there. Thank you, Liz. Any other questions? Somebody want to ask one last question? If not, I want to thank you very,
I
very
would like to ask a question.
Okay, sure, Miriam.
Yeah, thank you. Just to review very simply, I'm at the end, by the end of June, I will be at the end of my first 6 months in Eretz Israel. So who do I contact? I've been paying for Mishlam. I've been paying for the secondary insurance and getting the primary coverage from the government. So who do I call to activate the my payment for the primary insurance, health insurance?
You need
Bituach Leumi.
Bituach Leumi. Can you give me that number?
It's actually, if you call us or email us, we can send you instructions on several different ways to make payments, whether by phone or by computer. So there's an article on the Bituach Leumi webpage about how to start payments, and they give you several different options. So if you email me or email the answers, we'll be happy to send you that information.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to thank my colleague Ariella for her presentation and thank my colleagues Liz and Shlomo for joining and helping answer the questions. Again, we're all part of the MBN Answers team. There's more of us. You get to know us all, and we're here to assist you. I'm assuming we're going to get a whole bunch of emails in our inbox with questions from today's session. So we try to respond very quickly within one working day. We may, if we have, a lot coming in the next day, please, excuse us if it takes 2 working days, but we will get back to you. And you will receive an email with a recording link and with some of these other links that we shared. It might take a few days to clean up the recording link before we send it out, but you will receive it. And again, thank you so, so much. And Mazal Tov, for those of you who've been here 2 months, for those of you who've been 2 years or 3 years, Mazal Tov, and continue enjoying your Aliyah journey with its ups and downs. Thank you so much.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.